Hi everyone, happy 4th of July weekend. It's Friday, July 3rd actually, but tomorrow is the celebration for Independence Day, United States, and I wanted to welcome you today for our last live of the week, every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific. We have this half an hour Q&A session to answer your questions and the issues that come up in your immigration cases or questions you have, not case-specific stuff, just general education. You should consult with an attorney in private if you have a specific case question so they can review your documents and spend time analyzing it for you. But we're here just to give general advice because I know how confusing this whole process is. You know, I study this stuff every day, work on it every day, and I have problems and issues with it all day, every day. Right now, a lot of mistakes by USCIS itself, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. But thank you for joining. If you're all watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and press that bell so you get new updates. Recording of this live video is placed on YouTube. The live every day is on TikTok. Immigration Lawyer John, John. Fridays it's on Facebook, so we have our Facebook crew as well watching on the camera to my right and TikTok to my left, and the camera's recording straight ahead of me. So I'm glad you all joined today, and let's get it started. All right, so happy 4th of July. This is really the quintessential American holiday where the freedom of the country was born from, and we're going through a lot of upheaval. But hopefully people could take the spirit of what the holiday is and take it to the next level from where it was with mistakes in the past and stuff. It's one thing, but we also had great achievements as well to look at the positive. But going through immigration stuff, a big headache I'm having, a big problem I'm having, which I'm sure y'all are having as well, is this year has been very difficult for USCIS officers to understand your birth certificate. I'm frequently getting requests for evidence, RFEs from USCIS, and colleagues are as well, saying that we did not submit a birth certificate or we sent the wrong one, despite the fact that we sent the birth certificates. I have one case I got an RFE for today. I sent two of the birth certificates, 2 copies of it. It was a parent of a U.S. citizen case, and so in one portion where we're proving the relationship between the father and the child, we gave a birth certificate, but also in the application for adjustment of status, we also sent another copy of the birth certificate, and they still got an RFE saying we didn't send the birth certificate. It's very frustrating, adds time delays and costs to the process, is unneeded, and it's not that, it's frequently. 2019 was a year of mistaken RFEs for the affidavit of support. I was seeing those constantly. It was very frustrating. This year, it's been about the birth certificates. It almost seems as if there's some sort of concerted effort. And there's a lot of great USCIS officers that get these cases done really quick, and I have those. And I don't mean to disparage them, but for maybe it's a training thing for new people. Foreign birth certificates come in all shapes and sizes, and you have to study a lot of them to get the hang of it. I've been doing this a lot of years, so I can identify these documents. But when you get these RFEs, it's very frustrating. Clients get it, the RFE, yourselves, and then you see it and you get mad, you get worried, you lose sleep. You're like, what did my lawyer do? It creates problems for me, creates more work, and it creates work for them. Right now, the immigration office is going bankrupt. They don't have the money to pay things. Well, if they didn't have these frivolous RFEs, you know how much money they would save on postage, on time of the people, all this kind of stuff. So none of it makes any sense. There may be some plan to this, some sort of strategy, but nonetheless, it is what it is. But I just want to share that with you because if you're filing your own case, you might get an RFE and you might start freaking out. Why is this letter saying, I didn't send a birth certificate, I sent it in. Was it the wrong birth certificate? Did they not get it? There's all these things that go in your head. There's a good chance you're not wrong. You didn't make a mistake, it was them. Now, I can't say that for every case. You may have forgotten to do it, but when you submit a case, one thing you should do, and lawyers all the time, is we scan a copy of the case and have a copy of it on hand before we send it out. So when an RFE comes back and says we didn't send the birth certificate, I just open my scan up, I see, okay, in this case, for example, I had 2 copies of the birth certificate. How did you miss it? And so, it is what it is. But you get frustrated, then you realize, it's their organization that deal with millions of cases. These things happen. It's not always, but when it does happen, it's frustrating. So I thought I'd share that with you primarily to relieve some worry. If you got the same RFE and you're freaking out, then you should, read it, make sure you did the proper birth certificate. For example, I've given this example before. In France, the birth certificate that they give, that's like the international birth certificate, the EU birth certificate, that is not the correct one. That's incorrect. So if you send that one, it will be denied. The correct birth certificate for France is a birth certificate that is published and given by the municipality or the city you're born in. So it's a little bit different. And there's other cases where if your birth certificates in some countries like India don't have the person's name listed at the time of birth, that could be problematic. Or sometimes people don't get their birth certificate until maybe 2 or 3 years later, or it's not issued until then. That creates questions as to the legitimacy of the birth certificate. Some people don't send translation certificates. So there are problems that happen, but not in my cases. So that's what's frustrating, and I wanted to share that with you all. So let's get down to questions. All right, let me go back. We had a lot of people joining, and it fills up the feed. Karina, thank you for following. If you haven't followed already, you know, Immigration Lawyer John is the TikTok name. Go on the link on the homepage for my TikTok channel. There's a link that's called a link tree, and it has access to my newsletter, my reviews, you know, constant 5-star reviews, my website, all that kind of stuff. And then also links to YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, because I post copies of my approvals, which have timelines, which is a big question people are going to ask about, on Instagram, as well as clips and stuff, so you have these specific cases and updates. So it's a mirrored information. I spend a lot of time giving out free information, because I see these questions. I'm here every day in the Q&A. I know what kind of worries you have, so if I can help relieve that by just making a video and putting it out there, why not? It's there. Probably, if you have a question, it's already there. If not, it's coming soon. I just constantly answering questions, putting them on there, and filling it up, so it's hundreds, eventually thousands of videos. Okay, Maheen asks, hi there, any idea when US embassies are going to open for interviews? No. Well, do you have an idea when COVID-19 will calm down? That's the answer to that. Interview says, can you shout out my brother? It's his birthday today. Yeah, already. I'm going to fall for that one. The guy was going to have me say something like a bad word. Username 366 said, my father is a US citizen and he filed for I-130 for unmarried children above 21. I want to know if his, you know, your question cut out. Ziggy says, the letter, the one I received from USCIS. I don't know, Ziggy, I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't make sense. Hi, Zin. So we got some questions. The questions were either fully written out or didn't make any sense, but that's just the way it goes. If you're on Facebook, please shout out, throw any questions you have. But while these questions are getting their stuff together, we'll just continue talking about this stuff. You know, and a report came, and it's something really important to know. If you have case problems, something that's mistaken or something, you know, you should try to clear it up with USCIS directly, with the officers maybe. Maybe contact a congressperson. Sometimes people then next route is going to lawsuit, but with USCIS, there's a group called the Ombudsmen, Ombudsmen, and their group is kind of separate, but it's to help with issues that pop up, to clear any problems that pop up with USCIS, to try to solve it. If there's some sort of things, a case is stalled, the document's not being corrected, a case is mistakenly you know, denied, and they try to help out. And they're a great agency. They came out with a report, and the report is 120 pages. I'm going to do a full analysis of it pretty soon. I have a podcast. The analysis will be more sophisticated. It's going to be for immigration lawyers analyzing case kind of stuff. But when I was reading it, preparing for that podcast that I'm going to be doing, I saw some interesting stuff they mentioned in there. For example, it was a gentleman who had advanced parole. They had a green card case pending. They traveled with the travel document called advanced parole, and they lost it when they were in India. And they didn't know what to do. They contacted the Ombudsman. Ombudsman worked to fix it with the Department of State to issue a travel document. So it's interesting. You learn a lot from that. Or as somebody who had filed a perm-based EB-3, this is a work-based, employment-based green card, and the first one was it was an error by the attorney, so it was denied. And the second one they resubmitted. They resubmitted the old labor cert or whatever they call it, and the USCIS denied it, saying you can't submit the old one, you have to get a new one. And Ombudsman said no, the regulations say you could submit an expired one, it's okay. But the short end of it is Ombudsman is a program that helps, which you could just do if you want to reach them. Go to Google, type in Ombudsman, USCIS. Follow the first website, that's, you know, it's their website for sure, the .gov website, and go through the steps they have to try to contact them. Now again, you should try to maybe contact attorneys, see what your issue is. It's not like just a mistake you're making. Try to contact the office if you can, maybe a congressperson, but sometimes there's timetable issues, so you gotta get done quickly. Try contacting them. They are a last resort, but it could be a good resort in some cases. So I wanted to share that information with you. That's one of the tools we have in our toolbox to try to deal with, you know, immigration problems that happen that are not your problem. So I just wanted to share that with you all. Zen says, when will immigration open? Immigration never closed. Mayan says, thanks for answering. You're welcome. You're welcome, Mayan. So yeah, this is you know, a misunderstanding. So we have the immigration system, USCIS, that is, that particular agency. They're saying that we're running out of money, and it's because there's 50% less applications coming since COVID-19 came, but we still have the staff of 100% cases, so we're burning through money. Money's not coming in. We're declaring bankruptcy, or we need a bailout from the Congress, because USCIS is fully funded by the filing fees people send them for their cases. And so now they're saying they sent out notices. We're going to furlough people probably in August. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows if a bailout's going to happen? It's a messy situation. It might be a strategy to shut down immigration in general. That would be a pretty massive shutdown if that does happen. But we're not actually sure if USCIS does shut down. Will they still accept cases, not process them? Will they partially open? We don't know how that all is going to look, because they are getting money in. So we just don't know, but that could be a major issue if it happens. So be prepared for that, but it just goes to show that the problems that come up with the immigration system, to be prepared. This immigration has not been shut down as a common misunderstanding, which is probably why it's led to 50% less cases being submitted, and the money issue, because people have this misunderstanding. They think immigration is shut down. They think USCIS is not open. And so when you don't think the organization is open, you're not going to submit a case. But that's wrong. Please, share this information. This misunderstanding potentially is bankrupting that organization, allegedly. So I just want to share that information, reminder, because we already had a couple of questions asking, when is USCIS going to open? When is immigration going to open? It's just certain things that are not happening. Things that require in-person interaction because of COVID-19. Those are the things that are not open unless it's an emergency. And that's that. If you mail them something and it's a case like an EAD where they don't need to interact with you, it could get approved. Now the biometrics are shut down, but in some cases they're saying we're not even going to do the biometrics. Biometrics is the fingerprint. So just understand that if you have a case, don't just wait thinking that USCIS is closed. Even if it is furlough, even if it's going to close on August, you want to file a case if it's possible to hold your place in line, get it started. It might give you authorization to stay for a period of time. There's all sorts of things. It might get you an extension on your work permit if you have an EAD that's expiring in some cases. These are all case-specific things I'm talking about. You should consult with an attorney, but don't have this misperception that that is an issue, because it's not. And that misperception is potentially bankrupting the organization. Roham asks, hi, would you please tell me how much it costs for a marriage visa case? I'm a U.S. citizen. Roham, the system doesn't work for that. It's not a box of cheese or something like that, a packet of cheese. I just say it's this much. It's case specific. I need to know more information about your background, your spouse's background, what type of case they're going to be doing, if they're in the United States or outside the United States, if a waiver is needed, if there's ever been fraud, misrepresentation, what your financial condition is, what her financial or his financial condition is, what background, education, languages, your relationship history, and the stronger your case is, the less the fee is, because there's less attorney time needed. But the weaker the case is, the more attorney fees are, because there's more work that we have to do to solve those indiscrepancies. That's why it's not a one-size-fits-all. Attorney that does a one-size-fits-all doesn't look at you as a person, looks at you as just a dollar sign. I could give this, I'm gonna hand this off to the secretary, I don't really care. But if you want someone who's gonna pay attention to your case and charge appropriately, it's gonna go up and down. And so you have to have a consultation to see what kind of services you need. Some people need more time, more service, some need less. And so I don't do a fixed rate like that. It's a service, but not everyone does that. Feel free to call around to other places. But my office doesn't just look at people like they're the same. Everyone has their own case and their own issues and their own need for time, and the fees differentiate because of that. Username 366 says, if I'm a citizen, daughter got married after filing, will she immigrate with her family? If a citizen, probably not. But I would need to know exactly what's going on. I'm assuming what you're saying is that you had like a U.S. citizen file for their brother and sister, and the nieces and nephews are part of that case. If the nieces and nephews get married, what happens to the case? Yeah, if you get married, you're out of that case, because you're not a single child. I'm not sure exactly. Your fact pattern is not clear. There's more we have to talk about, so I don't want to give you an exact answer. You should consult with an attorney to look at it, just because it's not clear the way you wrote it. Saudi says, I had an appointment with USCIS on April 3rd, but they closed. What should I do? Just wait for rescheduling. Incredible N says, hello, is K1 and K2 ban under new ban? It's not. I had a video on this. It's up on YouTube. Go to YouTube, jklaw.com, catch it there. It's a misunderstanding that some embassies have, but because the embassies are closed, it's hard to push them to figure it out. but it's not in the law of any, either in the statutes or the laws or the travel bans. It's not. Some embassies mistakenly think it is, but because they're not doing interviews, it doesn't make a difference. But once it starts, they're going to have to fix that unless President Trump makes a new travel ban. But as it is, K1s and K2s are non-immigrant visas. They're not subject to any of the non-immigrant visa or immigrant visa travel bans. They're in between, so it doesn't apply to them. Karina says, I don't have proof of my permanent residency. Okay, I don't know. I got to see why and what history you have. I can't help you right there. You should consult with an attorney to figure out what's going on. Arslan says, hi sir, I'm a permanent resident for 5 years. I want to apply for my wife. Time process, please. There is no time process for these cases right now, but consult with an attorney. I'm going to start skipping through. There's no time process I can tell you. Will USCIS automatically reschedule a canceled appointment? They are supposed to do that, yes. Roham says, would you please share your office contact information? Yeah, just email me at info@jqqlaw.com. That's info@jqqlaw.com. Briefly describe the immigration issue that you have so I know what kind of case you have. And if it's something I handle, we can schedule a paid consultation. The fee varies depending on the case and time needed, all that kind of stuff. And if it's not something I handle, I can refer you to a colleague that could probably better help you. But email is the best way, info@jqqlaw.com. The consultation would be by video, so we see each other like that. GTAP says, hi, I applied for N400, so how long will it take to get it for interview? I don't know, it varies case by case. People are so worried about times. I know it's important, but there's no answers kind of stuff. It's like, when will COVID-19 end? I don't know. If you know, you tell me. So whenever you think about how long things take, think COVID-19. When are you going to be gone? I hope it's gone. I can't even see my family, my children can't see their grandparents. It's a nasty situation. And so I'm really frustrated too. COVID-19, when will you be done? Look at the camera asking you. Just like you guys asked me, how long will a case take? It's not a realistic possibility under current circumstances. With all the craziness happening, with furloughs happening and COVID-19 shutdowns and the anti-immigration sentiment by the president's administration, the travel bans, it's not possible to say these kind of things. There's delays, backgrounds, like it's not happening. Bilar says, why I-864 rejected from immigration? Any ideas? I mean, if you're let's say you have a cold and your nose is running, I mean, that's not cold. Let's say you're coughing. Let's say, why am I coughing? Any ideas? We could have a sore throat. You could have COVID-19. It's not a kind of question to brainstorm like this. Be like, you should consult with an immigration attorney for sure immediately if you had a rejection of any type. That's the proper thing to do. Not to come on a show in general kind of stuff like that. Brainstorm ideas like that. But the I-64 is, what I've found is, the I-944, the new Declaration of Self-Sufficiency, is probably the most complicated thing people are going to file for their own. But in the past, when I have consultations with people who try to do a case on their own or have tried to review it, the most difficult part they've had is the Form I-864. It is complicated. It's not too complicated when you deal with it every day, but the complication is enough where I frequently have officers at USCIS, and I was discussing this at the beginning of the show, where they issue mistaken RFEs that are wrong, and so it's a nightmare when that happens. But they don't understand the I-864. The way they want an I-864 FAA support, and this is a document that shows that the U.S. sponsor for a family-based case normally could financially support the foreign spouse or family member. They submit this contract with the government that says, I'll pay for them if I need to for certain things and all that kind of stuff. USCIS wants to see that you have a job, the U.S. person that's a sponsor, and getting paid a wage. As an employee, gets a pay stub every month and has a W-2 at the end of the year. That's the easy way to understand it. If you diverge from that even a little bit, then they're not going to understand that. So if you use assets or partial assets, or all these kind of things, they're not gonna get it. It's going to be a big problem. And that becomes a big issue. That's a nightmare we're dealing with the I-864. So you have to make it really clear. I even had a case once where this guy made $1 million a year on a W-2, and we still got an RFE. It was just so dumb. So if you have if you're like a woman filing for your mom, and then you're not making income in that case, and you're having your spouse who makes a lot of money be a joint sponsor, you're going to need to have what's called I-864A potentially, and that confuses some officers that aren't as trained, and that leads to an RFE. Sometimes you'll have a joint sponsor that comes a separate, not even a family member, but they're married, but the income is just from the joint sponsor. That that spouse does not come into it, so they don't need to fill out what's called an I-64, but the Immigration Service will say no, they need to, even though we could clearly show the joint sponsor makes enough money. I'm getting kind of things complicated because I'm adding more terminology, but the gist of it is there's a lot of mistakes on both ends, on the applicant's submission of it and on USCIS accepting it. That can be problematic if it's not just a simple W-2 paycheck kind of stuff, even if it's one of those. So those are the times when you have an attorney to be prepared to submit it, to do it well, and also be prepared to get an RFE just to get it and then be able to respond to that in a proper fashion. That's just the affidavit support, and I'm sure the declaration is so sufficient. I-944, once those become adjudicated, we still haven't had those adjudicated because it's so new. I'm sure it's going to be a nightmare as well, so we'll see what happens with that. Karina says, be respectful or go out. Okay, so this one person, is saying some crazy stuff. I'm going to block them and kick them out of the group. All right, sorry, Karina, I got that out. JD says, how soon can I expect interview for, I did a video on this. It's on YouTube, JK Law Firm page about I-693s. This is if you get a medical. The question is, how soon afterwards will you get the interview? When you get a notice that says you did not submit the I-693 medical, well, there's no timeline, but I go into more detail on that. Just go to YouTube, JQK Law Firm, it's there, but there's no answer to your question. Karina, the lawyer is trying to help people. Yeah, I kicked the guy out, Karina. What language is that they were saying? Oh well, you're welcome. Eventually, when the group gets large enough to do this every day, you're going to get people trolling and saying some crazy stuff. But I figured out how to do the block button yesterday or 2 days ago, so I've been kind of block heavy. For those listening to the podcast of this later or watching on YouTube, I'm kicking people out of that tool, let's call it the Immigration Lawyer John TikTok page for saying crazy stuff. You got to do it. You got to do it. You're welcome. I hate to disturb people on that. Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's joining. I know it's a long holiday break that's popping up, and we're looking forward to it. I'll be working except Sunday. Is it 3rd or is it the 2nd? Let's see. It's got to be 3rd. I thought, 4th of July was on Sunday, so I scheduled some consultations tomorrow morning. Oops. So it is what it is. We got some morning consultation at 9 and 9:30 tomorrow, but we'll get those out of the way. People aren't in a rush. A lot of cases I'm having is people have green cards and they went back to their home country for like, a 3 or 4 month trip or to do a medical checkup or something like that. And all of a sudden, their flights got canceled. They can't come back, or they can. But like I have one case where the woman, is an older woman and she doesn't want to get on a plane. She's afraid, and started waiting. Okay, March, April, May. Is COVID going to get better? June? No, it's not better. July now, and all of a sudden it's more than 6 months they're outside the country. They're worried about it. It's a major issue because they don't want to get on a plane, and now they're worried. I've been outside for more than 6 months. It might become a year soon. What am I going to do? What do you do? Well, the short of it is, realistically, if you're out more than 6 months, particularly more than 1 year, they can take a green card away, but it is up to the discretion of the officer. It will mess up with your citizenship unless you have good paperwork that you're actually living in the U.S. and the situation popped up. But I can't imagine an immigration judge getting this case and not having understanding that, I got stuck outside due to COVID-19. The best thing to do is have a flight that you had to return that got canceled to show that, yeah, you did intend to come back. But it's just not realistic for them to do it. Now, I can't say that for sure. It's not law. It's just my feeling, and law is not feeling. So don't rely on this kind of stuff in that sense. But, what would I do? I mean, yeah, like if you don't want to get on a plane and you don't want to get on a plane, so it's a tough situation. Potentially stay outside for more than 6 months or get COVID-19 on a plane. And so I think it'd be too harsh for them to deny a green card or cancel it due to abandonment or something like that. It's possible, but it's a weird situation. I don't have an exact answer to that. I don't want to give legal advice in that sense, but these are the consultations I'm having with people to try to prepare. That's why I said, well, if you can't come back, at least show that you had a ticket that you had to come back with the intent, or have documentation that you have a house in the United States or life in the United States, you're caught outside for COVID-19, or like the planes got canceled. Just information you could show and document so you don't think you're just playing games. On Facebook, Alejandro asks, could you weigh something about the process to get the green card? My case was updated to schedule the interview, but I have not received any other information. Well, you just gotta wait, that's about it. If you got a notice online that says you're waiting to schedule an interview, you just gotta wait for interviews to be scheduled. They're not scheduling spouse of green card cases or adjustment of status for being spouse of U.S. citizen cases right now. So yeah, just be patient. Username 366 asks, if U.S. citizen daughter got married after filing I-130, will she immigrate with her family and children, husband and children? Probably not. I have to see what's going on. Probably not. I'm not sure. I doubt it. But that's not an exact answer. Goalie, hi, good to see you again. A regular Goalie, good to hear from you. I'm doing good here. Yesterday was hot. It's cooled off today. I have the air conditioning on this time. So yesterday, everyone watching, I was like sweating over here, but it's good. Let's see. There's one question that popped in my head I wanted to mention, but it skips me at the time. But yeah, these adjustment of status cases, it's important to note that they're just not doing adjustment of status green card cases. Adjustment of status is when you apply for a green card from within the United States. Unless it's an emergency kind of case, like if you're, you got a diversity visa or something, you got to make the case to USCIS, that's emergency, please schedule my green card appointment. They're just not doing it in general. Their focus is on naturalization, on citizenship, and those are the interview notices I'm getting. I have one on my desk I was going to show you, but it has the client's information on it, confidential, I can't share it. But yeah, they're just focusing on naturalization, citizenship, and oath ceremonies right now to get that backlog out of the way. They say if things continue by end of July, we could clear the citizenship backlog. Hopefully, then they'll go to green cards. But we'll see. If all of a sudden in August there's furlough and shutdown, there's not much you could do at that point. Other than just pray. But in the meantime, hopefully you did file for employment authorization, you did file for a travel document, so we have those in the system to hold you over, to get a social security number, to get work authorization. If your work authorization is expiring, so actually I have to go check more on this on my own cases, but if you had your work EAD based on adjustment of status case, then it's nearing the 1 year mark where it's going to expire, you should file for renewal of your EAD form I-765 as soon as possible. It'll get you an automatic extension if you file beforehand, so that's really important. And there's no filing fee. And so when you file an I-765 for an extension on an adjustment of status case, C9 category, there is no filing fee. You have to submit the I-765 application. You have to submit proof of the previous approval, your ID, like a passport, valid ID, maybe 2 passport photos, I think, can't remember at the top of my head, and maybe other stuff depending on your case, but you should do that and don't forget it. You kind of lose track because you assume your case is going to be done less than a year, but it doesn't always work out that way. Cool, yes, I have a question. So I'm not working at the moment. For me to bring my husband from Turkey, what can I do to show them I can support him? Well, that's a serious issue. You need to either show large assets, and I work with the U.S. Embassy in Ankara, Turkey a lot. The assets game does not fly with them. So, Goli, that's going to be a tough one. You got to find a job, or you have to find a joint sponsor who will financially support your spouse. And that's a big question to ask for people. A lot of times they do it, sometimes they don't. But even with that, they've told the embassies that we don't necessarily accept joint sponsors, where they used to. If the joint sponsor is not like a family or friend member that's close with you, it's up to their discretion whether they're going to accept that. So best thing is for you to find a job that makes enough money. Secondly, show you have enough money saved up, assets and stuff like that, a bunch of money, cash in the account, just sitting there for 12 months. Or joint sponsors, or a little bit of each of them. To do your best. It's a messy situation. Now, the U.S. Embassy in Turkey is closed right now, so it's going to be a while before they open up, and they have a backlog of cases, so we'll see what happens in Ankara. But if you're not working, it makes it hard. Joint sponsor, assets, those are the 2 ways to go. There might be some more. We got to dig in deep into your case, but that's problematic if you're not working, unfortunately. The financial support portion could be really a drastic hit, and that pops up in these kind of cases. So we have a couple more minutes left. If anyone has 1 or 2 more questions, we'll take it. If not, I want you all to have a great 4th of July holiday. 4th of July, obviously, it celebrates U.S. independence because a lot of people from England all across the world immigrated here, or were forced to immigrate here. They decided to call this place home, or forced to call this place home. and then they said, we're tired of the English ruling us, so let's make it. So it is a celebration of immigration. And so that's a joyous holiday to celebrate, the immigrants coming to a new land and saying, this is our land, we're going to change things and take some land from other people. But that's that. Goldie follows up, can a joint sponsor be just a friend? The regulations say that a joint sponsor for I-864 can't just be a friend. But the internal regulations that they're putting out is maybe not. They're saying it has to be someone's close, someone you can rely on that's going to help you and pay you, preferably a family friend that knows both of you, or a family member. They're making stuff up, essentially. But if it's... And so before this public charge would get in play, there was no problem. We just find any person joint sponsor, they would do it. but I'm just more and more hesitant over this because how difficult they could be. So you could try getting a joint sponsor, submitting it, seeing what the embassy says. If they don't approve it, then you got to jump through hoops and find some other situation. But if you give it a first try, just be a friend. Historically, that was 100% okay. The statute said that's okay. But, we're dealing with this administration who is trying to do their best to stop any immigration and not too happy about 4th of July in my eyes. Goy says, thank you, you're welcome. Happy 4th of July. And Boss, we got a bunch of questions last second. Boss 383 says, adjustment of status for kids, what's the wait time? It just varies. Nelby says, is spouse interviews going on or not? No, they're not doing adjustment of status interviews or immigrant visa interviews at the embassies. Embassies are closed down. USCIS is not doing in-person interactions for adjustment of status cases yet, except extreme situations that could show this emergency. And Karina asks, when will USB close again? I don't know. We just don't know what's going on. We're just playing this stuff day by day. Thank you everyone who joined our live Q&A for Friday, July 3rd. I hope you all have a great 4th of July holiday. Please, if you have a question in a sense that you want to schedule a consultation, email me at info@jqqlaw.com. That's my direct email. I'll read your email, briefly describe what immigration issue that you have, and we'll see if we can help you or schedule a consultation or take it from there. And other than that, please follow, like, subscribe, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you can find me. Just follow podcasting, JQK Law Firm Podcast, or the Immigration Lawyers Podcast, my other podcast. It's a professional trade podcast. But you hear more technical kind of stuff if you're interested on that on the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I do a deep analysis with a colleague, Masa Kambabi in Boston, Massachusetts, where we go over the State Department's internal discussion they have with a professional organization called the American Immigration Lawyers Association, AILA for short, from March. And we analyze what they say, what it means, and how to think about it. It's kind of technical, but if you're interested in this stuff, it's going to be a good listen to. I really recommend it because it's really eye-opening as to procedures and it shows how complicated the work is. All right, everyone, God bless, be safe, and we'll see you all on Monday. Bye-bye.